Okay. Syami tak ada. Okay, tapi kita boleh lambat sikit Kalau 4.10, 4.10 macam tu sebab kita boleh lambat kan. Okay, jadi kita sambung siapa yang tak ada buat lagi? Alia Alia apa tak nama dia? Alia.
Dia saya.
Nanti tolong ada buat macam ni. Lepas ni dah ada buat dah. Sebab lepas ni cikgu nak tengok awak buat latihan. Boleh faham ke tak?
Okay.
Okay. Alright, kita tengok minggu lepas saya stop sampai yang ini kan Saya stop sampai sini analisis graf kan. Jadi kita dah belajar kalau graf bentuk macam ni kita panggil graf ni bentuknya garis lurus straight line. Okay, dan dia true origin. Okay, origin tu asalnya lah kosong-kosong. Okay, lepas tu gradient dia adalah positif maksudnya nilai kecurunan dia adalah positif. Okay, jadi macam mana nak tahu nilai dia positif atau tak? So bila kita kira, kita gantikan dalam rumus kecurunan kan. Dalam rumus yang ni M sama dengan Y2 minus Y1 divided by X2 minus X1. So bila awak gantikan, awak dapat nilai dia positif, so maka dia positif. Kalau awak tolak lepas tu awak bahagikan, awak dapat nilai dia positif. So maksudnya gradient tu adalah nilai dia positif lah. Dan garis lurus dia persamaannya adalah Y sama dengan MX So saya ajarlah semula untuk yang ini. Okey, katalah saya ada garis lurus saya ada garis lurus. Okey. So dia adalah directly proportional Okey, katalah nilai saya dapat kat sini, sini asalan dia kosong-kosong lah. Okey, yang ini 7, 8. Okey. So 7, 8. Jadi macam mana kita nak buat? Pertama sekali kita tahu this one the relationship is directly proportional. Okay, so that's the first thing that we know. Okay, and then after that we know that the gradient is positive. So how does we know that the gradient is positive? So we just use this formula, right, to find the value of the gradient. Okay, x1. Okay, and then this one should be s1, y1. This one should be s2, y2. Okay, so y2 is 8 minus 0. Okay, and x2 minus x1 is 7 minus 0. Okay, so as you know that I told you before that you cannot leave your answer in the fraction, right? So you have to divide 8 divided by 7. Okay, so 8 divided by 7, you got 1.142. Okay, 1.143. Okay, so you have to take 2 or 3 decimal point. Okay, so let's say I take 3 decimal point. So this is the value of the gradient. Okay, and as you can see, right, there is no signs of negative here. So mean this one should be positive. So we know here the gradient is positive. Okay, the gradient is positive. Okay, and then the next one, how you want to form the equation, right? The straight line equation. Okay, so this is the general form, of the equation. That means y is equals to mx plus c. Okay, so m here is the gradient, the value of the gradient, that you already count here, right? And then c is actually the y-intercept. Okay, y-intercept, right? So the next thing is, you can form the equation here. Y is m is 1.143, x, right? And then there's no intersection of y here. There is an intersection, but there is at 0, right? So mean we just ignore c here, because c is actually 0 because it intercepts at 0 at y-axis. Okay, so the answer, the equation should be 1.143x. So this is the straight line equation, for this graph. Okay, so the next one, so the next one we see this one. So what's the difference between the first graph and the second graph? The first graph, it passed through the origin. Okay, but the second graph, it does not pass through the origin, but it has an intercept of y then. Okay, so means you have to form the equation, and the equation must have the y-intercept. Right, the next one you have to interpret the graph. So the first one, the graph, it should be straight line, same like this one also. Okay, but it's not passed through the origin. Okay, because the origin is here, right? So it's not passed through the origin, and the gradient is positive. Okay, so we see example later. Okay, how do we know that the gradient is positive? Okay, So this one, the gradient is positive. And also if they ask you the relationship of the graph, okay, so the relationship of the graph, so the graph should be increased linearly. Okay, should be increased linearly, right? So because it doesn't pass through the origin, so it's only increased linearly with x. Okay, so if you want to find the gradient, same. Okay, just use this formula. Okay, and then this is the equation. Okay, so let's say I give you one example. Right, so let's say this is the graph. Okay, this is the graph. Okay, so I give you here 0, 6. Okay, and then this one should be 4. No, cannot be 4. Yes, 4, and this one it should be 10. Let's say 10. Okay, so next one you have to find, this is what is the relationship of the graph. So the relationship of the graph is the y is increasing linearly with x. Okay, and then the next one, okay, the next one asks you, let's say the question asks you to find the gradient. Okay, so remember the formula is m is y2 minus y1 x2 minus x1. Okay, so this one is x1 y1 x2 y2. So 10 minus 6 divided by 4 minus 0. Okay, so 4 divided by 4, you got 1. Okay, and then you substitute in this equation. Okay, let's say ask you to form the equations. So y is, m is 1, right? So x. Okay, c is the intersection here. So this one should be 6. Okay, so the equation that you got is x plus 6. Okay, so we don't need to put 1 here. Okay, so this is the equation for the for this graph. Okay, all right, the next one. Okay, okay, for this one, so the graph is decreasing. Okay, you can see the value is decreasing. Okay, so if the question asks you what is the relationship of this graph, so this graph should be decreased linearly, right? Decrease linearly with x. Okay, and you can see here, right, the type of line still straight line. Okay, still straight line. True origin, no. Okay, and then gradient is negative. So you can see here the gradient is negative. Okay, so later I will show you one example. So how we get the gradient is negative, right? And then the y-intercept, so we have to find the equation here. But the m, you can see the value is negative. Okay, so let's see one example of the graph. Okay, so let's say I have this graph. Okay, right, and then it should be like this. Okay, this one is say 0, 10. Okay, so let's say this one is 4, 4, 4. Okay, so let's say that one is 4, 4. Okay, so the first one, what is the relationship of the graph? This one is y decreases linearly. Okay, you can see when y keep increase, the x is, when the x increase, right? So what happened to the y decrease. Okay, so that's why it's called decreasing linearly. Okay, all right, the next one, we find the gradient first. Y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So this one is x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so it should be 4 minus 10 divided by 4 minus 0. Okay, so 4 minus 10 is negative 6, right? So 4 minus 0 is 4. Okay, and then remember, physics cannot answer in fraction. So you divide, you can get negative 1.5 here. Okay, so you can see here the gradient is negative, right? So y is mx plus c. So y is, m is negative 1.5, okay, x, okay, plus c. So there is no interception, there's interception of y here. So that is 10. Okay, so we just, right. So this is the answer. Okay. So that's how you get the negative value. So that's how we know that actually the m is a negative, right? Okay, the next one is, Okay, this graph. Okay, so this is the graph that is in a straight line. Okay, okay, so in this one you can see the curved line. Okay, so in the curved line. Okay, selalunya untuk graf yang curve macam ni, kita tak tanya sangat lah tentang nilai kecerunan semua kita tak tanya sebab dia agak rumit kita kena buat kaedah pengamiran semua kaedah pembezaan maths lah jadi kita tak buat just kita tahu sama ada hubungan graf ni macam mana apa yang kita boleh dapat daripada graf ni, apa hubungan dia macam ni kita dapat directly proportional, this one is increasing linearly kan, satu lagi decrease linearly. Okay, but for this one kita just tahu apa hubungan dia. Okay, so yang ni line dia adalah bentuk curve melengkung, okay, dan dia melalui asalan through origin. Okay, and then the gradient so the gradient dia adalah nilai dia positif sebab graf dia naik menaik macam tu. Graf dia meningkat lah meningkat macam tu. Okay, kemudian lagi satu so yang ni kita cakap y increases with x. Okay, y increases with x. Kita cuma cakap dia menaik saja. Sebab tu pentingnya perkataan linearly ni. So kalau kita perhatikan kalau awak tak tulis linearly, mungkin graf ni adalah bentuk melengkung. Jadi sebab tu kita kena tulis linearly menunjukkan yang graf tu sebenarnya adalah dalam garis lurus sebab linear tu sendiri adalah maksudnya lurus dalam garis lurus. Okay, jadi kita kena tengok ini mesti ada perkataan linear kan. Ini garis lurus pun mesti kena ada perkataan linear. Tapi yang ini kita tak tulis linear sebab dia bukan dalam garis lurus dia dalam bentuk curve. Okay, so kita just cakap dia increase saja. Y increase with x. So without the linearly. Because the linearly is only used for the straight line. Okay. Alright. And then this one is y increases with x. Okay. For this one is also the curved line. Okay. But the value of the graph is decreasing. Okay. You can see the value is decreasing. Okay. As x increase, right, the y value is decreasing. Okay. So the line curve through origin does not pass through the origin, and then the gradient is negative. Okay, the gradient is negative. Okay, and then the next one is the type of graph. Okay, so let's say for this one y is decreasing, right? Y is decreasing. Okay, decreasing. But if you change the axis here to 1 over x. Okay, if you change the axis here to 1 over x, it will become directly proportional. Okay, it will become directly proportional. Okay, so if y again x, you can see here is decreasing, right? Y is decreasing with x. Okay, y is decreasing with x. Okay, but if you change the x axis here to 1 over x, okay, you will get the graph is directly proportional. Okay, but the graph cannot cut the both axes. Okay, cannot cut both axes. Means should be like this. Okay, should be like this. Right. Then when you change to the 1, this one is 1 over x, right? So if you change to 1 against x, so this one is say 1 against 1 over x, so this one should be directly proportional. Okay, but the rule is you cannot intercept. If like this, cannot. Okay, it cannot intercept any axis. So this one cannot. Or like this. Okay, like this. Also cannot. Okay, so it cannot intercept in both axes, whether y or x. Okay, then if you change to the axis to 1 over x, you will get the straight line. Or we can say here that it become directly proportional. Okay, it become directly proportional. Okay, so this one is also negative. Okay, the gradient should be negative. But when you change to 1 over x, the axis to 1 over x, they will become positive gradient. Okay, so this one you have to remember. Okay, and then if for this one, the graph, you cannot say decreasing linearly. Okay, this one is inversely proportional. Okay, inversely proportional. Okay, But the important part is cannot pass through the x-axis or y-axis. Okay, cannot intercept both axes. Okay, if does not intercept both axes, we call it as an inversely proportional. And if we change the axis, the x-axis to 1 over x, it will become directly proportional. Okay, alright. So nanti kita akan tengoklah soalan-soalan dia. Okay, macam mana nak buat. Okay, yang tu bentuk-bentuk graf yang ada. Ini bentuk-bentuk graf yang ada. Okey, jadi kalau awak nak salin dulu ke, awak boleh salin dulu. Saya bagi masa untuk awak salin. Okey. Nanti awak dah salin tu, awak bagi tahu cikgu. Nanti saya akan buat rumusan lah bentuk-bentuk graf dia. Nanti saya akan buat rumusan. Okay, belum dah siap mungkin kat bawah ni awak tak sempat nak salin. Dah siap ke?
Dah siap teacher.
Dah siap. Alright. So kita tengok yang bawah ni. Okay, dia kata type of graph. Okay. So this one is actually a straight line lah. Graph yang straight line yang ni. Ini straight line. Okay, gradient ni sebenarnya kita boleh kira lah So macam mana nak kira, awak boleh guna rumus kecurunan kan So boleh guna rumus kecurunan Y2 tolak Y1, that means this one is 3 divided by 0.6 divided by 3 So ni awak boleh kira guna rumus kecurunan boleh kira guna rumus kecurunan, saya tunjuk satu Okay, so graf dia macam ni kan Okay, right, so this one is 0.6, kalau tak salah saya letak 0.6. Okay, betul. Okay, 0.6 dengan 3 kan. Okay. So 0.6 dengan 3. Okay. Okay, kemudian part CY dia, unit dia adalah A dengan B. Okay, A dengan B. Okay, sebelum tu, bila sebut tentang kecerunan yang ni unit dia arus, yang ni voltage sebut tentang kecerunan. So kecerunan ni dia mesti ada unit. So must have a unit. Okay, so how you want to determine the unit for the gradient? Okay, so let's say I give you one example here. Okay, 1, 2 minus y1. Okay, x2 minus x1. Okay, so this one should be 3, 0.6, right? This one should be 0, 0. Okay, so 0.6 minus 0 divided by 3 minus 0. So you got 0.2. So this is the value of the gradient. So how you want to find the unit for the gradient? Okay, so it's easy, right? You know that this one is the y-axis divided by x-axis, right? The y-axis divided by the x-axis. So here, the y-axis unit is ampere. The x-axis unit is voltage. Okay, so the unit should be A over V. Okay, the y-axis unit divided with the x-axis unit. Okay, A over V, or you can put 0.2 AV negative 1. Okay, you're not sure, you can put like this or like this. Okay, so before this we don't have a unit, right? Because it's only to show you the relationship of the graph generally. Okay, but when it comes to the equation, okay, when you count the gradient, you must put the unit. Okay, so this is how you put unit. You just put the y-axis unit divided by x-axis unit. Okay, so that's why you got this answer. AB negative 1. Okay. Alright, so the relationship of the graph, okay, so this one should be directly proportional because it's passed through the origin. Okay, passed through the origin. Okay, so for this one, okay, so this is the curve graph. Okay, so curve graph, this one is increase, right? So you don't need to put the linearly because this is not the linear graph. So you just put curve graph. Okay, this is the type of graph, curve graph. And to interpret the graph means what is the relationship of the graph. Okay, this one should be current increase with voltage. Okay, current increase with voltage. Okay, and then for the next one is the straight line graph. Okay, but the value is decreasing, right? So it's a straight line graph with negative gradient. Okay, so I already proved you how do we get the negative gradient. Okay, so it's a straight line with a negative gradient. And then to interpret the graph, okay, so this one should be decreased linearly, okay. So you should put decrease linearly with current, okay. So this is the equation, right? Y is mx plus c, okay. Y is mx plus c. So let's say I teach you for this one. If you don't understand, try to show you how you got the equation here. Okay. The first one, okay, the straight line, I think you already know. This is straight line graph and negative gradient. So to interpret the graph, this one is decreasing linearly. So for the equation, y is mx plus c, right? Okay, so y here, you take the unit for y-axis, so v. Okay, and then the m here is the gradient. Okay, so the gradient means you have to count the gradient here. So this is 0, 3. And this one is 0.61. Okay, 0.61. So you just divide. Okay, y2 minus y1 is 1 minus 3. The gradient is 1 minus 3 divided by 0 0.6 minus 0. Okay, so 1 minus 3 you got negative 2. So negative 2 divided by 0 0.6. Negative 2 divided by 0 0.6. So you got negative 3.333, right? So negative 3.333. So you just substitute here. Okay, and then the x value is A. Okay, so x is A. Okay, and C is the intercept. So intercept of y is 3. Okay, so C is the intercept of y. M is the gradient. So me you have to calculate first. Okay, x is the unit for the not unit, symbol. Okay, symbol. X is I. Okay, X is I. Okay, Y is V, right? The symbol is V. Okay, so this is the question that you get. V is negative 3.33I plus 3. Okay, so for Y and X, you put the symbol of the graph or the axis, graph axis. Okay, awak ambil simbol dia je. Simbol dia V, yang ni simbol arus adalah I kan. Lepas tu unit dia A. So yang depan ni adalah simbol dia. Yang belakang ni adalah unit dia. So awak ambil simbol dia. Maksud ni dia tak bagi. Sepatutnya I palang A. Okay, so cikgu tunjuklah lagi satu contoh. Kalau cikgu ada graf. Okay. Daya dengan Newton. Ini X dengan pemanjangan dia. Okay. So kata cikgu ada graf. Sini 0.8. Okay. So katalah sini lagi satu. Cikgu bagi 4, 5 katalah. Okay. Jadi yang pertama kalau kita nak buat equation. So ni dia punya general form dia kan. So Y tu awak ambil dia punya tajuk dia punya simbol dia. So simbol dia adalah F. Okay. Kemudian M ni kecerunan kita kena cari kan. Guna Y2 tolak Y1 tu kan. So X1, Y1, sini X2, Y2. So sini 5 tolak 8 bahagi 4 tolak 0. So 5 tolak 8 dapat negatif 3/4. So ni awak dapat negatif 0.75. So awak gantikan dengan nilai kecerunan ni. M ni adalah nilai kecerunan, gantikan yang kita kira tadi. Okay, X ni adalah paksi X punya simbol. So paksi X punya simbol adalah X. Kebetulan sama. So X. Okay, kemudian tambah C. C ni adalah pintasan Y ataupun Y intercept. So Y intercept dia adalah pada 8. Awak tengok mana nombor yang dipotong pada paksi Y. So 8. Okay, so kat sinilah 0.75x tambah 8. Okay, so ini equation dia. Okay, so cara nak buat persamaan macam ni. Untuk fizik lah. Okay, okay, so harap awak ingat lah Okay. Okay, jadi kita tengok soalan seterusnya pula. Okay, kalau yang ini, so this one is also the curve graph. Okay, so you see here the graph is not intercept with x-axis or y-axis. Okay, so this graph we call it as a inversely proportional. Okay, so inversely proportional. Okay, and then if you change the axis, okay, you change the x-axis to 1 over diameter dawai ni. 1 over diameter dawai ni maksudnya y diameter, right? Diameter of wire. So when you change to 1 over diameter of wire, so we got the graph should be directly proportional. So it change here. Okay, from here if you change the axis to 1 over diameter of wire, okay, so it will become directly proportional. Okay, and this one also the gradient is actually negative, right? Because it's going down like this. Okay, but when you change to we change the axis, it become positive gradient. Okay, it will become positive gradient. Okay, so let's see for the let's I summarize first. Okay, all the graph that we have learned. Okay, so the first one, okay, the first one is directly proportional. Okay, so this is the graph of directly proportional. Okay, so directly proportional. Okay, and then the gradient is positive. Okay, and then this is y, this is x. Okay, so how you want to find the gradient? This is the formula. Okay, and then how you want to find the equation? So the equation is y is mx. Okay, so there's no c here because it does not intersect y-axis. Okay, and also if it intersect at 0, so we just ignore 0 there. Okay, this is the first graph. Okay, and then the second graph we learn. Okay, should be like this, right? Okay, so this is y, this is x. So this is increasing linearly. Okay, increasing linearly. Right, and then the gradient still positive. Okay, and then the gradient, you have to find the gradient. You just use this formula, same formula. Okay, right, then next one, the equation should be y is mx, sorry, y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so there is an intercept of y-axis here, so should be the value should be should have a value of c here. Okay, right, the next one we learn about the graph. The third graph is decreasing linearly like this. Okay, so decreasing linearly. Okay, so this one the gradient is negative. Okay, alright, and then the unit, okay, the gradient, you can use this formula. Okay, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, and then the value, the equation, right, the line equation, the straight line equation should be y is negative m x plus c. Okay, since the gradient is negative. And also I already proved to you so many times, so this one the gradient will be negative. Okay, so this is the straight line graph. Okay, so we go next to the curve graph. Okay, so curve graph should be like this, right? Okay, or should be like this. Okay, so this is the curve graph, right? So this is the curve graph. So this one is positive, right? Does not pass through the origin. No, it's not pass through the, sorry, it passed through the origin. Okay, but the gradient is positive. Okay, so this one, the gradient is positive. Yeah, so gradient is positive. You don't need to find the how much the gradient and equation on it. Okay, so the next one should be graph should be like this, right? Like this. Okay, and another one should be like this. Okay, so this one is decreasing. Okay, this one is decreasing. Okay, decreasing, and the gradient is negative.
Negative.
Okay, very good. Okay, the gradient is negative. Okay, and then we have one more, right? One more that is does not pass through the x-axis or y-axis. Okay, but this one we call it as inversely proportional. Okay, inversely proportional. Okay, inversely proportional. Okay, and then you can change the graph, right? So this one, the gradient will be negative. Okay, the gradient will be negative. Okay, and then you can change the x-axis here, okay, to 1 over x. So when you change to 1 over x, you become directly proportional.
Proportional.
Okay, very good. Directly proportional. So now the gradient is not negative anymore, so it will become positive. Okay, so this is the summarize that what we have learned, okay, for the type of graph, okay, in physics. Okay, so let's see the question in your paper. Okay, so alright, so 5 things to analyze a graph. Okay, so complete the table with 5 things to analyze a graph. Okay, for the first one, what you can get from the graph is the relationship of the graph. Okay, the one that we know increasing linearly, increasing linearly, directly proportional, decrease linearly. Okay, so that one we can get from the graph. Okay, so from graph we can get the relationship between two variables. Okay, and then the next one you can find the gradient. Okay, one use the formula, right? And then the third one you have can find the area under the graph. Okay, if straight line you can find the area under the graph because some of the graph they have a value. Let's say for graph you I think you already learned Hooke's law, right? So Hooke's law, the force and the extension of the graph. So actually the area under the graph is actually equals to the energy, right? The elastic potential energy. So that's you can get from the graph. That value you can get from the graph. So area under the graph. Okay, number four, the interpolation to determine the value of physical quantity. So this one we see later if you have a question about this, you need to extrapolate it. Okay, and then number five, the extrapolation to make a prediction. Okay, so this is the five things that you can get from the graph. Okay. All right. So let's see the question. Can I give you for some time for you to answer for question number two? Okay. So try to answer first. Question number two here.
Teacher,
Ya.
boleh tak nanti nak salin yang jenis-jenis graf tadi tu?
Yang mana yang cikgu bagi yang dalam word ni? Oh boleh. Tapi faham ke tulisan saya?
Faham je.
Okay. Boleh lah salin lah dulu. Salin dulu. Nanti dah habis salin bagi tahu
Okay.
Saya bawah sikit ni. Nak salin yang seterusnya tu. Ni tak ada. Oh ni ada sini pun tak ada.
bawah teacher. Curve pula.
Kalau cikgu kecil kan nampak tak sini? Nampak tak kalau saya kecil kan?
Nampak?
Nampak?
Dah.
Okay, kalau dah kita tengok soalan yang ni. Okay. Soalan yang okay, dia kata a student carries out an experiment to investigate the relationship between the heat absorbed Q and temperature change theta, okay, of a fixed mass of water. So the result of the experiment are shown in the graph of Q against theta in diagram. Okay, so you can see here, state the relationship between Q and theta. So remember when asked you about the relationship of the graph, okay, so you know here is pass through the origin, right? So this one, the answer should be directly proportional. Okay, directly proportional. Okay. So for next question, determine the value of Q when theta is 1.25 degrees Celsius. Show on the graph how you determine the value of Q. Okay, so 1.25, so you can see here, this is your graph. Okay, so 1.25 is actually in the middle between 1 and 1.5, right? So what you do, you take a ruler. Okay, so 1.25 I think is around here. If I'm not mistaken, it's in the middle, right? Okay, take your ruler here because the question asks you to show on your graph. Okay, to show on the graph means you have to underline. Okay, underline, sorry, from here to here. Okay, underline. Okay, until here. Alright, and then go here. Okay, so use your ruler lah, make it a straight line. Okay, so this is the first mark that you will get, right? So the second mark you have to read here. Okay, so what is the value here? I think 1, this is 2100, 2200, 300, 400. I think 2500. Okay, 2500. Right, so 2500 joule. Okay, so 2 marks. Right. Okay, the next one. Okay, the next one, calculate the gradient K for the graph Q against theta. Show on the graph how you determine the value of K. Okay, so this is the gradient. Okay, right. In physics, okay, when you got this kind of question, gradient tu dia mesti ada segitiga. Dia mesti dilukis segitiga. Dan luas segitiga tu, mesti kena ada segitiga. Apa maksud cikgu segitiga? Awak kena lukis segitiga. Contoh, ni segitiga dia. Okay. Dan luas segitiga tu mestilah 4 darab 5 ataupun 5 darab 4. Okay, this is the minimum. Right, if you want to draw it bigger, it's okay. So what does it mean by 4 times 5 or 5 times 4? Okay, so this is considered as 1. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is count as 1. So let's say if I take this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's say I take until here lah. Okay, so you can count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 5 also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one is 5 times 5. Okay, so it's bigger than this one. So it's okay. You can take this one. Okay, alright. Then you put a sign here. Okay, buat tanda pangkah kat sini. Okay, and then you read the coordinate. Right, read the coordinate here. So this one is 2.5 and 5,000. And then this one is 0, 0 lah. Okay, and then after that what you do, you draw a triangle here. Okay, lukis segitiga. Ikut 2 titik yang awak ambil. Okay, so kalau katalah cikgu ambil titik kat sini kan. So awak kena draw triangle sini lah. Okay, kalau cikgu ambil kat sini, so means awak kena draw dari sini ke sini. Cikgu mesti ambil daripada asalan ke? Tak, boleh ambil kat mana-mana pun. Tapi saya suka ambil pada asalan sebab senang kita nak baca kan. We already know that this point is 0, 0. So just take 0, 0. Tapi kalau graf tu dia tak lalu kosong-kosong kan. Dia pintas pada paksi Y. Okay, dia pintas pada paksi Y. So maksudnya awak kena ambil kat sini lah. And then you have to count to make sure that the minimum is 4 times 5 or 5 times 4. If it's bigger, then it's okay. Okay. Tapi ini adalah minimum dia. So ni saya ajar, ni teknik teknik nak jawab. Terutama nak jawab kertas 3 kan. Tapi kadang-kadang sebab kertas 3 awak dah tak ada. Dia boleh keluar untuk kertas 1 atau kertas 2. Jadi kena ingat So teknik dia mesti kena luas 4 darab 5 atau 5 darab 4. Okay. Kemudian plotkan, baca dia punya koordinat, tulis kat situ. Okay, lepas tu buat segitiga. Okay, lepas tu awak check, make sure segitiga tu mesti sekurang-kurangnya besar macam ni. Kalau nak buat 5 sini, 4 kotak sini pun boleh. Nak 4 kotak sini, 5 kotak sini pun boleh. Mana-mana boleh, tapi mesti ini. Ni minimum ambil, kalau boleh ambil lah besar. Boleh ni kita ambil besar. Okay, jadi ni kita nak kira kan dia punya kecerunan kan. So 500 tolak kosong bahagi 2.5 tolak kosong. Okay, so awak tekan je kalkulator awak. So 500 bahagi 2.5. So awak dapat 200. Okay, tapi ingat tak tadi cikgu ajar kan, kalau kecerunan dia mesti ada unit. Okay, so macam mana kita nak tahu unit dia? Mesti unit paksi Y bahagi unit paksi X. Okay, kalau kita tengok kat sini, unit dia dekat mana? Unit ni yang di belakang ni, joule. Ni joule unit dia. Q ni apa? Q ni adalah simbol. So ini unit dia, so iaitu J. Yang ini unit dia apa? Darjah Celsius kan, degree Celsius. So J over degree Celsius. Or you can say J degree Celsius negative 1 also can. So this one the answer can be 200 J over degree Celsius or J degree Celsius negative 1. Okay. So this is how you answer for this type of question. Okay. Okay, seterusnya, okay, ni awak buat sendirilah. Cikgu bagi masa dalam 5 minit ke untuk ni. Mungkin tak jelaskan gambar dia. Sekejap saya jelaskan boleh tak? Tak ada lah, dia tengoknya. Saya tak nampak ke? Sekejap, saya kontras. Boleh kat sini. Saya besarkan. Sini pula saya nak bagi ajak soalan macam ni. Awak buatlah mana yang awak nampak. Nanti yang tak nampak tu tak apa, cikgu. Kita buat sama-sama. Nampak tak dia? Yang ni saya rasa 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04. Ni cikgu tulis kat tepi ni. Saya tak nampak. Dalam pixel graf yang besar ni. Okay. Yang ni 0.1. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. Okay, ni H palang M. H palang M. Yang ini dibagi M palang kg. Okay, tengok Right. Tengok yang pertama, dia kata a student carries out an experiment to investigate the relationship between the depth H of wooden block immersed in liquid and the mass m of floated weight placed on the wooden block. So the result of this experiment are shown in the graph of H against M. So state the relationship between H and M. So you can see the graph here is passed through the origin, right? So this one should be directly proportional. Okay, so directly proportional. Okay, determine the value of H when M is 0.20 kg. Okay, so 0.2 kg, 0.20, so should be here. Okay, and then remember you have to draw a line. Okay, and then goes here. Okay, so because the graph is not so clear, right? So I estimate maybe 0.024. Oh, sorry, 0.022. Okay, because this one is 0.01, right? Okay, so 0.022. Okay, 0.022 meter. Okay, 0.022 meter. Okay, so let's say your graph is clear, so you should read it properly lah, right? So 0.022 meter. Okay, and then calculate the gradient of K for the graph. So show on the graph how you determine the value of K. So remember you have to take two coordinates, right? And then you have to read the coordinate and then you draw the triangle. Okay, so the first one I take is origin here, 0, 0. Okay, alright, the next one, because the graph is not that clear, okay, so maybe I will take here 0.6 here, like here maybe. Okay, 0.6. Okay, so let's count whether is enough. Okay, 4 times 5, right? So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So sebenarnya satu kotak tu yang kita nak kira sebagai satu tu sebenarnya adalah 10 kotak kecil. Okay. Macam ni kan. Macam ni kan. Macam ni sebenarnya 10 kotak kecil kita kira sebagai satu. Okay. So kalau macam ni 10 kotak kecil dia yang ni lah sebab graf dia terlalu kecil. So ni 10 kotak kecil. Jadi kita kira lah kalau saya ambil yang ini. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 something. So it's already exceed the 4 times 5 and 5 times 4, right? The minimum. So you can take it. So this one you can just draw the triangle like this. Okay. And then underline it. Okay. And then don't forget to read the coordinate here. So for this one, I put 0.6, okay, 0.6 and 0.067 maybe. Okay, alright. And then I just calculate it 0.67 using the formula of the gradient. Okay, 0.67 minus 0 divided by 0.6 minus 0. Okay, so I just use calculator 0.67 divided by 0.6, we got 1.12. 1.12. Okay, but this one, the unit, remember gradient must have unit. So what is the unit for y-axis and what is the unit for x-axis? So the unit of y-axis is meter, the unit for x-axis is kg. So m over kg. Okay, or you can put 1 over 1 to m kg negative 1. Okay, so you can put the answer here. Okay, so this is how you answer for question number 2. Okay, so let's say for question for this one, okay, the next one, do you have a board already? So like, okay, can you use the board, right, to write the answer for this one, for number 2. I want to see whether you can answer it or not. I think this one is much clearer than this one, so maybe you can get the correct value. Okay. Just write in the board there. Dia boleh pakai pensel, dia boleh pakai tangan juga kalau tak salah saya. Nak pakai mouse boleh, kalau pakai laptop. Kalau pakai tab lagi senang lah. Memang boleh pakai.
Teacher tadi soalan yang mana?
Yang ni, this one. Sorry, sekejap. Yang ni. Ni lah. Bawah ni. Yang ni soalan dia punya graf ni kat sini. Nanti ni lagi apa tu? Nak belajar muzik je. Boleh tak? Susah yang guna board ni. Nak saya padamkan ke? Saya padamkan.
Teacher,
Hmm?
graf yang dilukis tu kita boleh panjangkan ke?
Boleh, boleh, boleh.
Okay.
Hmm. Boleh tak? Susah ke buat ni? Okay, boleh saya bincang Okay, kita tengok yang ni Yeah, student carries on an experiment to investigate the relationship between the potential difference V and the current I of the three dry cells in parallel. So what happens to the V as I increase? Okay, so for this one, you can see when the VI increase, the V will decrease, correct? Okay, so this one, the answer should be decrease. Okay, correct, so decrease. Alright, determine the value of V when I is 0.1 ampere, right? Show on the graph how you determine the value of V. So I is 0.1, okay, so means 0.1 is here, right? Okay, but you can see there is no line of the graph here. So this one you can extrapolate. Maybe you make the graph longer using the ruler. Okay. Right, so 0.1 is here. So 0.1. Okay, you have to show on the graph. Okay, show on the graph. So make a line until here.
9.0.
9.0. So 9.0 volt. Okay. So in physics, you have to put the unit. Okay, the unit is very important in physics. If you put 9.0, it's wrong. Okay, you have to put the unit also. Okay, calculate the gradient K of the graph V against I. Choose on the graph how you calculate the value of K. Okay, for this one, since it does not intercept in in 0, 0, right? So no origin. So you have to take two coordinate. So I take this one. Okay, one. Okay, and then I take this one maybe. Wait, one. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's enough. So I tick here. Okay, and then I draw the triangle. Okay. So it's up to you. Okay, it's up to you what coordinate you want to take. Okay, you don't worry because the gradient value they have a range. Mean they can accept from what point until what point. Okay, they have a range of value. So dia ada julat. So bila julat jawapan tu ada julat. So mungkin antara 1.0 sampai 1.5. Jadi calon dia boleh jawab mana-mana yang jawapan antara 1.0 sampai 1.5. Sebab nilai kecerunan ni, gradient ni dia bergantung pada segitiga kan. Maksudnya koordinat apa awak ambil. Sebab setiap orang koordinat dia tak sama. Ada yang nak ambil cukup-cukup 5/4, ada yang mungkin ambil besar kan. Jadi jangan risau mungkin jawapan awak tak sama dengan jawapan cikgu, tapi dia make sure dekat-dekat lah. Janganlah saya dapat 1, dapat 2 lebih, tu kira salah dah lah tu Okay, so kita tengok okay, cikgu dah lukis segitiga. So this one is 0.1, 9.0. Okay, this one is 1.5 I think, 1.5. Lebih kurang lah kot 1.8 ke? No. Ni 1.5. Ini 1.4 kot. Okay, sebab dia tak sampai lagi kan 1.5 kat sini. So 1.4. Sorry tak apa tu dia. 1.4 dengan 4.0. Okay, so the next step we have to use the formula. Okay, so now you have a triangle and the triangle is quite big. Okay, it's more than 4 times 5 and 5 times 4. So next part you just use the formula. So this here I take this one xy y1. This one is x2 y2. Okay, so 4 minus 9. Okay, 4.0 minus 9.0. Okay, and then the next one is 1.4 minus 0.1. 1.4 minus 0.1. Okay, so use your calculator. So -5 divide by 1.3. Okay, 1.3. So I got -16.67. Okay, so let's say if I take a 3 decimal point should be 667. Okay, if I take 2 decimal point is 67 only. Okay, and then don't forget the unit for the gradient. Okay, y axis unit divided by x axis unit. So you can see here this is the unit v and this is a, right? So v over a. Okay, or you can put VA -1 also okay.
Teacher, saya dapat 5.25.
5.25. Awak ambil koordinat mana?
Saya ambil koordinat yang garis yang dia bagi tadi tu. Yang
Yang
awal.
ni? Yang ni?
Garis awal-awal yang saya tak tambah apa-apa.
Ni 0.1 dengan 9 ni awak ambil cikgu ni ambil koordinat yang ni kan?
Tak, saya ambil koordinat 0.4, 0.4, 7.5 dengan 1.2, 3.3.
0.4, 7.5 means is here lah. Awak tarik lagi satu?
1.2 dengan 3.3.
Sini Awak tak dapat sama dengan cikgu Sekejap mungkin salah ni kot, salah ganti. Cuba tengok awak ganti betul tak? Y tolak Y1 tolak Y exist tu awak tolak atas dulu, Y dulu baru awak tolak X yang kat bawah.
Saya buat macam tu.
Cuba try tu. Sekejap cikgu bacakan koordinat awak ni. 0.4, 7.5, this one is 1.2, 3.3 0.4, 7.5, 1.2. So kita gantikan 3.3 tolak 7.5. Okay, dengan 1.2 tolak 0.4. Okay, saya tolak. Itu saya yang salah tolak. Ya, takut saya yang salah tolak kot. 4.0 kan, betul tak? 4.0 tolak 9, so saya dapat negatif 5. Ini 1.4 tolak 0.1. 1.4 tolak 1.4 kat sini betul ke 1.4? Kejap. Ni 1.4 ke ni ke 1.4 ni? Ni 1.04 ni. Saya salah koordinat macam. Betul. 1.04 kan? Kejap saya tolak balik. Kejap 1.04 tolak 0.1, 0.94. Negatif 5 bacaan asal. Betul. Jawapan dia 5.31. Ni koordinat saya salah ni. Kita balik 1.04 tolak 0.1. So this one jawapan dia adalah negatif 5.32. Lebih kurang lah macam awak dapat negatif 5 something. Okay. So negatif 5.32, VA negatif 1 ataupun B. Okay. Boleh tak? Sampai sini. Okay. Yang ni boleh tak awak lukis? Yang ni saya bagi kerja rumah. Yang ni saya nak awak lukis graf. Lukis graf untuk ni dia dah bagi data ni kan. Lukis dalam kertas graf ni ataupun nak lukis kertas graf awak sendiri pun boleh. Okay, lepas tu awak buat sampai soalan ni. Buat sampai sini. Ni kerja rumah awak. Kerja rumah awak sampai sini je. Lepas tu saya nak awak tangkap gambar. Tangkap gambar, hantar dalam grup ke, nak hantar personal kat saya pun tak apa. Sebab saya nak tanda graf awak. Okay, so kalau boleh before our next class lah. Before our next class. Our next class awak hantar, so saya nak tengok graf ni dengan sampai sini je buat. Sampai sini je. This one. Carry out ni tak payah nanti kita sambung nanti next week. Boleh tak?
Boleh.
Okay. Ni last kelas kita tengok je soalan. Saya ada bagi awak rasanya kot dalam group kan. Saya nak tengok 5 soalan je. Saya tengok 5 soalan je. So ini adalah tajuk bab 1. Sebenarnya dah habis dah Dah habis dah. Tinggal cuma nak ajar awak macam mana nak tulis report fizik je. Okay, kita tengok nombor 1 Physics is a branch of science which means so fizik ni dia kaji tentang apa? So kajian tentang zarah-zarah, alam semula jadi, benda hidup, jirim tenaga. So jawapan dia apa?
Matter and energy.
Matter and energy.
Matter and energy Right, the physical quantity that cannot be defined in terms of other physical quantity is called as?
Derived quantity.
Base quantity. So, base quantity. We cannot derive anymore. Kalau yang derive tu yang cikgu ajar kita darab ataupun kita bahagi atau kita guna dua-dua tanda bahagi dengan darab untuk hasilkan satu unit yang baru kan. Satu unit quantity fizik unit yang baru kan. Okay, nombor 3. Which of the following is a base quantity? So yang mana base? Ada 7 kan. 5 dah belajar form 1, 2 lagi tambah masa form 4.
Maths.
Maths Maths in kg, energy is in joule, weight is in newton, volume is meter cube. Okay, number 4, which of the following is not a base quantity?
Electrical current.
Electrical current. Okay, so actually the answer is weight. Weight is not base quantity. Kena ingat tau 5 quantity tu yang belajar masa form 1 mass, length, temperature, electric current, time. Itu 5 kita dah belajar masa form 1 Lepas tu kita tambah lagi 2 waktu form 4. Fizik kita tambah lagi intensity of light kan, luminous intensity dengan satu lagi mole. Jadi itu adalah base quantity nombor 4. So nombor 4 jawapan dia A, bukan. Okay, nombor 5, which of the following is not a base quantity? Base unit, bukan base quantity, base unit. Unit dia bukan unit quantity, asas yang mana? Yang mana? Kilometer, betul. Ini length kan? Length mesti dalam meter, bukan kilometer Okay. So cikgu stop dulu kat situ. Hari Isnin dengan Selasa saya tak ada sebab saya ada mesyuarat. Boleh tak kalau saya buat hari Sabtu depan awak free tak?
Free je. Okay.
Okay je. Nanti saya akan bagi tahu lah hari Sabtu tu pukul berapa, nanti saya up dalam group.
Okay.
Okay, terima kasih.
Thank you teacher.
Thank you. Bye.